Welcome to today's show. The topic today is Archangel Azrael, and I know you're going to enjoy learning about this archangel. Everybody seems to know about the kind of the top four, but the lesser known ones are actually ones where you're going to learn more things you didn't know before. But before I jump into the show today, I want to say hello to my listeners in Magnolia, Texas. Thank you for tuning in. I so appreciate having you part of my listening audience. And I have to tell you, I have quite a lot of relatives in Texas, in Austin, Buda, and San Marcos. So I'm actually getting ready to go down there in the next couple of months to do an event my brother and sister-in-law are setting up to do private readings for people, angelic readings. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that very much. As I said, today's show is about Archangel Azrael, and the name means help of God, or whom God helps. And you heard me pronounce it, so you know it's Azrael. And the origin of the name is the biblical Hebrew word Azrael, which means angel of God, also known as the angel of death. So people will hear the angel of death and think, oh my gosh, if I see this archangel or hear from this archangel, I'm going to die, or somebody I know is going to die. That's not the case. So let's kind of dive in here about the history. I like to inform you about the history in human history that each archangel has, some a lot, some not so much. But there are references to this particular archangel in Sikh scriptures and the holy book of Judaism called Kabbalah. In the Muslim tradition, Azrael is one of the four angels that Allah sent to earth to collect soil in order to create Adam. And though the others failed, Azrael brought back enough earth for Allah to successfully bring Adam to life. Archangel Azrael comes to you at the time of your death and releases your soul from your human body so you may transition to the spiritual world. In Islamic theology, Azrael carries out God's will for the souls of the deceased, and he does this with profound reverence. Archangel Azrael carries your soul to the foot of the Creator, where you go through a timeless process in which the lifetime that you've just left is reviewed. You've heard of that life review process. So that's not something people made up. It's actually something in very ancient references. This process is not done in a critical or judgmental way, but through the eyes of unconditional love. So it's really like dispassionate observer view of your lifetime, where you could have made different choices, how you could have taken a different path, how you could have been kinder, how you could have maybe even choices that you didn't realize that you had at the time. So just to help you be a better soul moving forward. I also like you to know the areas of human life that each archangel oversees. And when it comes to Archangel Azrael, his function is to surround both the dying and the grieving with comfort and healing energy. This archangel also help your loved one with their next life. And it is said that Azrael commands legions of angels. And I would imagine that every archangel does, because the truth is there's millions of angels, and the archangels are the highest order. So I would imagine that God needs their help a great deal to take care of the angels and make sure that they're doing what needs to be done and keeping order, that they're sort of like his head lieutenants. What does Archangel Azrael look like? It can appear as either male or female, and their energy is androgynous. So that's kind of hard for me, because very often what I feel is the energy more than anything, but there are plenty of angels. I mean, angels are androgynous beings. They're not male or female. So it's how they're depicted in art is really up to the artist. Their color, their energy color is a creamy white. And Azrael is often depicted wearing black or brown with a hood. And I tried to find out like what that represented, particularly in medieval art, where you'll see a lot of that. but I couldn't find anything about it. So if you know, please let me know. I'd love to know. Always looking to increase my knowledge. Every angel, including archangels, has a personality, and the personality of this archangel is strong, quiet, and respectful, not scary. And that's something I think people need to know. You see these terrible horror movies, the angel of death is the specter with a scythe, what is that? A scythe, the scythe. And they're very menacing, but that's not what Azrael is about at all. That's just something made up by humans. So here's a little bit of Azrael trivia for you. It's not a game and there's no prizes involved. The ruling planet of Azrael is Pluto, even though it's no longer considered a planet. And Azrael is connected to the zodiac sign Capricorn and the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra. Archangel Azrael, I asked them to give me a message for you for the show today. And this is what I was told. Death is not a terrible thing. It is merely a transformation. Great emphasis is placed on bringing comfort to the dying, then gently transitioning them from their physical body into spirit at the time of death. Know that often those who are dying are already mentally and emotionally existing in the spiritual world at the moment that their soul detaches from their physical body. I found that to be very comforting. I'm in an age where I've lost plenty of people that I love, and just being able to connect with spirit and angels doesn't mean that I don't go through grieving or don't feel the loss. That's not it at all. I'm human. So I find it comforting to know that Archangel Azrael says this, that they're already detaching even before we realize they're detaching. So it's not a sudden, shocking process for them. So here's some things that is a good idea to call upon Archangel Azrael for assistance with. Comfort for the dying and grieving. Achieving profound soul growth and ascending spiritually. Accessing your Akashic record. Assisting a loved one with their transition to the spiritual world. And shielding from absorbing emotional pain for counselors and ministers. So I want to talk about those a little bit. Comfort for the dying and grieving. I think that's so good because the grieving, it's harder on the grieving when someone dies usually than it is on the person who died. They are now in heaven. They are in the afterlife. They're with God, the angels, all the loved ones that they have already passed. They are in a place of pure love and total health. It is those of us left behind who are suffering and grieving. And the main thing that Spirit likes to say, and angels tell me too, is Spirit doesn't want us to grieve. They want us to think of them in this beautiful, joyous, loving place, and to think about the wonderful, happy, loving moments we had with them in life and know that we will see them again. And that is a guarantee. So the other one, achieving profound soul growth and ascending spiritually. My work is helping people on their spiritual path very much. I mean, that's something I do every day in my work. And there are many, many people waking up to being spiritual, deciding to take a step on a spiritual path, or deciding they've been at a certain level for long enough and now they want to shift forward. People who really are seeking true enlightenment. And that is moving toward a place of unconditional love, because that is a very high frequency. So if any of that resonates for you, then this is a great archangel for you to call upon and help you achieve that smoothly and fast as you can. The third one, that accessing your Akashic records. If you don't know what the Akashic records is, it is a hall where there's a book with your name on it, literally, that has every single moment of your life in there, every single moment of every single lifetime you've had. And some people can access that very easily, can walk into that hall, pull out the book, sit down, flip it open and read it. And I've had people do that like spontaneously for me, and they were absolutely right about what they saw, moments of my life. They were absolutely right. And I do not see it. I wish I did. I would love to. That's not one of my gifts. But if it's something that you'd really like to be able to do for yourself, it is said that anyone can learn how to see their Akashic records. So you could call upon Archangel Azrael to help you open up to that gift. The other one, assisting a loved one with their transition to the spiritual world. I think that is such a privilege to be with somebody you love and care about at the time that they are passing, to be there with them, to comfort them, to just make sure they feel loved and safe, and just be there with them, loving them through that moment. It's a sacred time. And I've been blessed to be present at a number of people's crossing by request of them or their family. And I really cherish those moments. So if you get that opportunity, don't be afraid. It doesn't have to be a scary, terrible thing. It's a natural part of life. We're born, we live, we die. That's not a terrible thing. It's just it's the end phase of our lifetime. And it is natural as birth. So if you want to help, even if you can't be there, you could call upon Archangel Azrael to help your loved one or dear one who is crossing and just help them. Sometimes I do that when it's people that I can't be near, they're too far away, they're in another country, on the other side of the country, I can't get there. And I will ask Archangel Azrael to just be with them and help them feel peace, serenity, completely embrace the process, to fully know where they're going, and let them know and see what a beautiful place they're going to, so they have no fear. I think all those things are so helpful. You can do that no matter where you are, no matter where the person is who's transitioning. And the last one, it says shielding from absorbing emotional pain for counselors and ministers. But honestly, if you're a coach, if you are a reader in the spirituality, metaphysical world, if you're an empath in general, I find Archangel Azrael to be incredibly helpful for me as an empath, because I do feel other people's emotions. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it flattens me. So, empaths need a lot of spiritual protection, and you can add Archangel Azrael to your toolkit for that, and ask them to be there with you and help shield your solar plexus chakra, which is your upper stomach, where we absorb other people's emotions. Help them, ask him to help you just shut that down when you need to. There is an invocation that I wrote all these next invocations. I wrote all of them. But before you do an invocation for Archangel Azrael, there are some things that have been found to be very helpful. And I think you need to know that Azrael requires, before you do an invocation, that in your heart you sincerely want to help everyone involved in the situation, yourself and all other parties. And if you don't, please do not ask him for the assistance. In your diffuser, which is just a device, you put water and some drops of essential oil, and that diffuses it into the air. I like that a lot, because essential oils can be very powerful. Before I do my angelic sessions, and during, I diffuse Bulgarian rose oil. It's very high frequency, and it's great for Mother Mary. Just wonderful, creating sacred space. But for the sake of Archangel Azrael, some of the essential oils to consider diffusing would be frankincense, geranium, which smells a lot like rose, myrrh, patchouli, rose, rosemary, or vanilla essential oil. And as I always say, please don't mix all of those, because it probably won't smell very good. Pick 1, 2, or 3 that you're going to put in your diffuser, and let it run for about 10 minutes before you do your invocation. If you're new to the show, an invocation is simply a request for assistance, a request for the presence and assistance of, in this case, of an archangel. It's helpful for you to hold a small piece of amethyst and then say the invocation below as you're holding it. Azrael, I ask you to please help and comfort me. Insert some talk about the details of the situation you need help with. Lift my heart and that of all who are grieving this much loved person with your blessings, and help us all to heal. Assist me in releasing grief and connecting to my loved one who is on the other side. Please help me embrace the heart bond between myself and my loved one and know that it will always be there. I thank you for honoring me with your presence and your divine assistance. Always do these invocations. Anything involving angels, archangels, needs to be done when you are in a good state of mind. If you're angry, if you're upset, if you're anxious, it's best to get yourself calm. Do a little meditation, do some walking outside, some exercise to calm your energy down, because you are creating sacred space, and it's a sacred thing that you're doing to call in an archangel. So you want to do it in that best high frequency state of mind. I have written some invocations that you can use with Archangel Azrael for specific situations based on the areas of human life that Azrael oversees. And the first one is an invocation for moving through grief. Archangel Azrael, I ask that you be with me as my heart is heavy with grief, and I find it difficult to overcome my emotions. Please fill my heart and mind with your healing energy. Comfort me with the sure knowledge that my loved one has gone home, is radiantly healthy, and surrounded by loved ones who were waiting for them. Help me see my deceased loved one living in love and joy. Let these images gently push aside any negative sights that linger in my memory. I ask that you allow me to focus on happy times with my loved one and feel the connection between us, which is strong and eternal. Help me to release this pain and accept the physical loss as I embrace a new way of connecting with them. Every day, let me wake feeling my heart a little lighter, smiling more, and with my desire to move forward in life more firmly rooted. Thank you, Archangel Azrael, for the honor of your presence and your powerful healing of my grief and pain. I originally wrote that one when I was going through just such a rough time. I was going through the final breakup of a long-term toxic relationship that was overdue to be over, but it still hurt. And a week into that, a very dear friend passed suddenly, and it was just awful for all of us that were left behind, for their children, and us as friends, family. It just was really hard. And I think I was already so low emotionally due to what I'd been through and the abuse in that relationship, that I really didn't have much strength to deal with it. And I thought, I have to call in some archangel help here. I was at a moment where I knew I couldn't get through that by myself, and I didn't have to. I mean, yes, my angels were there, and yes, they were coming in and showing me the parade of angels. If you've read my book, you know what that is. And they were holding me, but I was still really low, just having a rough time. So what I felt when I did that was I started immediately thinking back to some fun memories and things like him singing with me and just laughing, and some of the outrageous things he would say and do. And I found myself being able to think of him with laughter and with love and fondness instead of just sadness and grief. And so I know it helped lift me out of the worst part of the grief, and I know it will help you too. So another one is the invocation for moving through pain. Archangel Azrael, please be with me now as I struggle with moving forward through grief. I ask that you reduce my grieving pain and help me to move forward toward happiness again. While I know that my loved one is in a better place, I remain here in human form and find it difficult to handle. Help me to find acceptance of my situation, to see the blessings in my life and to feel gratitude for them. Assist me in seeing that there is much left to live for by taking the focus off death and loss and putting it on life and joy. Let me reach out to others for help and to offer help as I can. Help me to be a unifying force for my family and others who mourn the loss of our loved one. Please remind me that death is not the end and that I have not lost them. Thank you, Archangel Azrael, for the honor of your presence and your mighty healing. That's just another one. It kind of goes more into the emotional pain of it. But I think it is important to ask for assistance, especially if you are someone in your family or group of friends who is relied upon for emotional support. If you're really good at emotional support, people are going to lean on you, especially in moments of hardship, grief, tragedy, and you're going to need extra strength. You're going to be dealing with your own feelings, and you're going to be dealing with people coming to you and asking you to uplift them, to comfort them. I in my line of work, I feel this is not my job. This is not my career. This is a calling every bit as much as being a minister or a nun or anything like that. It's a dedication. It's a life dedication. And so, yes, I do feel obligated to keep myself uplifted, to be a rock for the people around me when I can, to be there to support them no matter how I'm feeling. It doesn't mean I'm not going to tend to my own emotions, because I do. I have a background in the field of mental health. I'm a big believer in taking care of myself mentally. And so I do. And I have stress reduction, and I have detoxing methods, and I see a counselor when I need to, and I have friends that I can talk to. So, I just feel like I need to always be prepared to be there for others who need it. And I know a lot of you who are tuning into the show, if you're watching the show, you're listening, odds are you're a light worker. Odds are you may not know that. A light worker is just someone who's here to help others. It's a driving force of your life. You're not going to be happy unless you're helping others in some significant ways. And those people also make people feel better around them because of their light. People will probably tell you, I just feel better being around you, or I feel happy, just happier just after, being in your presence for a while. How they're going to word it in their own words, but you will have heard that a few times at least, and probably many times. There's a reason you're drawn to this show. The energy of this podcast matches your frequency. And so you, like me, need to be prepared to give comfort to others as necessary. But remember, take care of yourself. So the third one is an invocation for easing pain of dying person. Archangel Azrael, I humbly ask that you help my loved ones' pain as they transition into death. Enter their heart and mind with the sure knowledge that they are merely in a process of transformation. Send them loved ones from the other side to explain what is happening, and beautiful angels to ease their transition. With great love, I ask you to bring comfort to my loved one. Let their pain recede and their mind be as present as possible at this time. Help their passage be gentle, pain-free, and loving. I ask you to ease the suffering, body and mind. Remove from them any fears about dying and allow them to make this journey in peace. If they are already existing more in the spiritual world, let my loved one understand what is happening and be tranquil with this change. Please ease their pain and fears and leave them in a state of peaceful acceptance. Thank you, Archangel Azrael, for the honor of your presence and the serenity for my loved one. I think the ultimate, I pray this for myself and everybody I know and love, is we die peacefully in our sleep. To me, that's the ultimate way to go. The only downside of that is not having the time to, the opportunity to tell people one last message and them to tell you something, closure, or just not leaving words unsaid. But I want you to know, if that happens, I find great comfort in that your loved one can hear you from the afterlife. So you can say whatever you wanted to say before they passed and you didn't get a chance to, say it now, because they will hear you, and it will make their heart just overflow with love. I wish I could let you feel what I feel when that happens, because my whole heart area gets so warm and so filled with love. It makes me cry because it's just so incredibly beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. So there is a way you can do this, through this invocation. It also calms your fears. If you lose your fear, your loved one's fear reduces. There is nothing to be afraid of about actual crossing to the other side. How a person dies is another story, and we can't control that. It is what it is. But the actual passing, you can ease their fears about that. And along with that, too, it's very important that if you have a close love bond with the person, if they feel that you're not ready to let them go, they may hang on longer than they should, in more pain than they can endure, knowing they really are ready to cross. And so the last gift you can give them is to say, it's okay for you to cross. I'm going to be fine. I love you and I release you. If you're ready, cross. I've had to say this to numerous people, and I've had to be there and help their families say it, because I could feel the way that their love and fear of their crossing was holding their loved one back from their time. And you don't want to do that. Nobody wants their loved one to suffer, and especially not longer than they have to. So we must not be selfish. We must be selfless and say, you know what, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to make it through this. It's going to be hard, and I'm going to miss them, and I'm going to be sad, but I'm going to be fine. And it's not about me. This is about them. And we have to do the best thing for them. So the fourth invocation is called the Invocation for Easing Death Transition. So it's just whichever one of these resonates for you, that you feel comfortable with. And again, as I always say, please don't feel like you have to say invocations in my words. Rewrite them. Say them in words that you feel comfortable with. Say them in words that mean something to you. This is more just like a sort of a foundation to get you started, and then you take it from there, make it your own. Archangel Azrael, please enter this space and be with my loved one as they begin the transition to the afterlife. Let them understand that death is simply a journey home. Show them some of the loved ones who will be awaiting them with great joy on the other side. Ask their personal angels to visit them often with words of love and encouragement. Have them stay by my loved one's side, holding them in their celestial embrace. I ask that you give my loved one and all of us who love them a welcome surety that all will be well. Let them pass peacefully when their time arrives and cross quickly to the other side. Help my loved one to be certain that they are loved and will continue to be loved and remembered after they pass. Please remove any fear or doubt in them and replace it with peace. Thank you, Archangel Azrael, for the honor of your presence and your embrace of serenity for my loved one. I really hope that it takes away some of society, a media culture embedded fear about this archangel, and you can embrace them as the loving, very high frequency celestial being that they are. And even more, I pray that this particular episode helps you with your own grief, with the acceptance and transition of a loved one who is maybe already crossed or preparing to. And if you ever have questions about any of this material, you can find my email in the show description and contact me. Let me know. I'm here for you. Know that I'll be back next Sunday when the topic is how to read angel cards. Please have a deck of angel cards. They can be archangel, oracle cards, whatever you want. I actually prefer that angel cards I use have no words on them, or as few words as possible. And so if you have some like that, please have those at hand, and I'll explain to you why on the show. But in the meantime, may your angels surround you. May your angels protect you every moment, every day of your life. I'll see you next week.